Hey, Shalom Markins Rakam Makapash from GMS London, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem Chachadash. I want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful elect, pushing his truth in all sincerity. Back again with another video, and this one I'm going to call The Devil Revealeth His Heart, right? Which his heart being his mind, right? Trump's coming out, with, all these intentions, right? Kind of clear and open, where his mind's at, and what he wants to, the spirit that he wants to move forward in, right? Which, we tell you we're in the last days, man, and Trump's pushing for that, that end time scenario, right? He's gonna help bring that forward, right, until, the coming of our Lord, man. He's gonna help bring in the, the mark of the beast, help with the World War III, and all of that, right? So, this is the mindset that these devils are in, and they're trying to bring forth their new world order. All right, so they, like I said, their spirit is geared towards that, and so this article here from USA Today, and it's entitled "President Trump to sign order renaming the Pentagon the Department of War," okay, as opposed to the Department of Defense, which was never it was never about defense, America's military has always been an offensive force, right? Because they don't defend America, right? They don't defend America. They're constantly in everybody else's land fighting other people. They're not defending their own land from anything and anybody, right? They get that excuse, oh, they hate our freedoms and all that fucking stupid shit, right? But it was never been about defense, right? So it is more apt, more appropriate to call it the Department of War, because it used to be called that, right? But they wanted to go, more PC route, because it was a more, less aggressive, position to have, right? To make America look, we're defending people, when you ain't really, So it's more apt, it's more appropriate, and like I said, President Trump is revealing that mindset that America is to be in, all right, or that America is in. So reading on, it says Washington, get out of my face, right? President Donald Trump will sign an executive order on 5th September, okay, which I believe is, it's gone past, right? Changing the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War, reviving a name that was abandoned during a 1947 cabinet reorganization. The move, confirmed by a White House official, is intended to reflect what Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has described as the administration's effort to instill the warrior ethos across the armed forces, right? So they want to turn these men into real killers, Trump, these men have gone soft, and this whole idea and notion that we're here for defense is not the same as you put the mind, the spirit on the guys to be like in a more warrior mindset of being offensive. It is different, right? Which it is, right? It is different, right? Trump suggested the change during remarks to reporters on 25th of August. It used to be called the Department of War, and it had a stronger sound. And it's true, all these sounds and things, like, they carry different vibrations, right? It produces a different type of spirit, and this is the spirit that Trump wants. His people, his military, his politicians, all these people. He wants them in that mindset of going on the offense, right? Being warriors, right? Being ruthless, because he considers himself a warrior, right? So he had a stronger sound, and as you know, we won World War One, we won World War Two, we won everything, right? Right, and yeah, at present, America's had to bail out different wars, long running wars that America's been involved in, had to come back out of it, not really achieving anything, and America's been looking weak, They'll tell you that they won this and won that, but they haven't really done anything, right? They just, killed a lot of innocent people, right? Mostly. A White House summary of the order obtained by USA Today said the action will restore Department of War as a secondary name for the Defense Department. The order authorizes Hegseth to use secondary titles such as Secretary of War, Department of War, and Deputy Secretary of War in official correspondence public communications, ceremonial contexts, and non-statutory documents within the executive branch, according to the White House. All executive departments and agencies will be required to recognize and accommodate the change to the Department of War in internal and external communications. The order further instructs Hegseth to recommend legislative and executive actions to permanently rename the U.S. Department of Defense to the U.S. Department of War. As the president has said, we're not just defense, we're offense. You know, and so you've been going around the world, you know, dropping bombs on everybody. That's not defensive. Okay, you've not resisted an attack from a foreign power. You know, on home turf. It's never happened. No one's come to your turf, right? You're out there fighting in everybody else's backyard. that's not defense, right? You might call it as preemptive, right? But these men don't pose no real threat to America. You know, it's nothing but excuses, right? So we're reestablishing at the department the warrior ethos. We want warriors, folks that know how to exact lethality on the enemy, right? Lethality. We don't want endless contingencies and just plain defense. We think words and names and titles matter, which they do, right? Again, shout out to Nate. Names matter. All right, words matter, right? They do. Right, since the Trump administration has not provided a cost estimate on changing references, right? It always costs money. Like, why? Just type different letters on the damn fucking document. Anyway, skip that. It's not that important. So the enemy. I have to kind of read about the enemy now. Right, it once titled the enemy. Where is it? Okay, the Department of War was dissolved after World War II by the National Security Act of 1947, which merged the Army and Navy departments and created a new Air Force, jointly known as the National Military Establishment, NME, right? And ESO is the enemy, right? Enemy to the world. So during the presidency of Harry Truman, the enemy was renamed the Defense Department in 1949. The name was chosen in part to signal that in the nuclear age, the United States was focused on preventing wars. Yeah, sure. These men are doing nothing but causing wars. You know? So the United States was focused on preventing wars, according to historians. So the move to go back to the Department of War comes ironically as Trump has tried to cast himself as a peacemaker. And I said the devils are really showing their heart, their minds, or what they really want, what they really want to do, what they really want to achieve, right? All this peacemaking talk is rubbish, right? As he calls himself a peacemaker in several international conflicts, while also flexing the might of the U.S. military. It says that the name Department of War will sharpen the focus on this department on our national interests and signal to adversaries America's readiness to wage war to secure its interests, right? And all the interests happen to be over, abroad. That's why they're always out there, doing something to somebody else, right? Because Esau, right, believes that the world is his, and he gets to take anything and everything from anybody when he feels like it. Right? If you're weak, you're a prey to him. If you've got something he wants, he'll find a reason and make up a reason, right, as to why he needs to go over there and spread democracy or whatever, right? So he can get what he wants to achieve the outcomes that he wants. That's what Esau does. Okay, Esau is nothing but a warmonger, right? Looking for fights everywhere, right? To be a bully in the earth. That's what he does. That's what America do. Right, to take the spoils, just like Rome, to take the spoils of different lands, to pay their their fat friends, the elites up at the top. Right, that's why it's all being done. It don't benefit the American people. War doesn't benefit people. Right, but it does make a certain class of people very rich. Why they get to sit in luxury, but your your nation's being what's the word, man? Is being, downtrodden, right? The regular people are suffering. Prices are going up. Your nation's crumbling around you. Jobs are being lost. The wages ain't increasing. You're getting left behind. But these elites don't. They don't get left behind. They get stronger. Through all of this. All right, but that's what war is nothing but a scam. Right. It says restoring the name Department of War will sharpen the focus of this department on our national interest and signal to adversaries America. I read that, man, didn't I? Alright, so that's pretty much it, right? So that's the mindset. There was one other thing I just wanted to bring up very briefly. Just another one from USA Today. Trump calls for death penalty for anyone charged with killing someone in Washington D.C. Right? It's a very aggressive mindset and a warlike mindset, like he's saying. As the scriptures say, the devil coming for great wrath because he knows you have a short time. He's putting these things in place, right, and saying these things to kind of normalize the idea of this, right? But it's becoming very quickly a totalitarian rulership, right, under Trump, right? And he's just kind of what's that word, man? He's kind of putting that vibration out there, right? That this is how he wants to operate. This is what he wants to do, right? So I ain't gonna bother read this one, but title says it all really. But yeah, this is the mindset they're in, and what they really want to be doing with the power that they got, right? They don't want to be defense and politically correct and all this sort of business, right? They want to move, roughly, as a spake as a dragon. But I'm gonna get all that in a sec. Let me start here in Psalms 55 though. Verse 21 says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, right? So all this talk about peace and safety and loving everybody and democracy and all these different types, fairness and did I mention equality already? All these things, right, to help the people, to benefit the people, for the people, and it really it's never been about the people. These leaders have never been about the people, right? But they give us these sweet words to convince us and encourage us to believe in them, right? Well, not us, we don't believe in them. They know they're full of shit, right? But the people, they want to believe, right? So the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. Okay, war, violence. Okay, this is truly the mindset of Esau. All this other shit is just him, acting, putting on the show. Being deceitful, deceptive, right? That's Esau. That's the devil. Right? That is what he's been set up to do. The angels of light. Let me quickly grab that. Angel light. Right, 2 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 14 says, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light, right? For all these fair words that he be speaking, right? He looks like he's the good guy in the world, right? He's trying to do right by everybody, he's trying to, be fair to everybody and fight for this and fight for that, democracy this and, you man are oppressed, you need to have democracy. So we're just going to come and bomb your nation because you're under dictatorship. But then what has Trump turned into? It's funny, right? But this is the devil, right? So no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, right? But they don't work in the works of righteousness, right? But they have the appearance of it, but appearance only. And like I said, all that facade is falling away now. Then they're tired of putting on the act, To also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works, right? So, at the end, it's all going to be evident what these men were really on, because the Lord's going to judge them, right? If they were really righteous, if they were really righteous, then they ain't got nothing to worry about. The Lord ain't going to judge them, innit? But we know what's going to happen with these dudes. We know the wickedness that they've been doing behind the scenes, right? We're back in Psalms 55. It says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were there drawn swords, right? This guy's been planning and scheming on the people for centuries, man, to get him to this point where he can dominate completely over the inhabitants of the earth, man, through his New World Order, through his MOTB system, right? He's been looking for this day for a long time. So he's been playing the role of the nice guy, quote unquote, in order to position you into a position where he can take advantage of you. And that's what he's doing now. And, now he's baring his teeth. All right? He's showing you his intent. Okay? In 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3, it says, for when they shall say peace and safety, Trump's going to save America. He's going to get the immigrants out. America's going to go back to the good old days. Bro, America's finished. America ain't going nowhere but into perdition. All right, and everybody right along with it. Okay, save the elect. Right, there is no hope for America. Okay, that's done. All right. So when they should say peace and safety, then shall sudden destruction cometh upon them. Right, as travail upon a woman with child, they should not escape. Right. So, yeah, all this talk about saving. These men ain't here to save nobody. Okay, they're here to destroy. Right. They're out here to come and rule with an iron fist and destroy their enemies, man. Right? They're on a war footing, a war mindset, war path, right? And again, that's Esau. He was blessed with a sword, and that's all he really knows. He knows how to be a cunning hunter and how to ensnare people, how to deceive people, how to kill people. That's what he knows. That's his characteristics, right? He ain't gonna be nothing more than that, and this is why the Most High despises him, man. That's why he hates him. He can't be more than what he is, and he's just the devil. A destructive demon. Right? It's Daniel chapter 8, verse 25, just, getting this point, right? It says, and through his policy, right, also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, right? And Trump's been doing the same thing, right? He come into office and all these, his tech dudes were praising him and celebrating the fact that he came into power. And he's doing all these deals, investing all this money into the MOTB system. Right, they're all celebrating him. So he keeps writing all these executive orders left, right, and center. All these policies. That's what he's been doing because he's been given the power to, and no one can, no one's really opposing him. Everything is Republican, the houses and stuff. I believe, right? Because he had issues before. Because I think the House of Representatives were Democrats or something like that, and they kept blocking him and shit. But I think it's completely Republican now, right? So he's getting this fight back. All these dudes around him, like kissing his ass, just doing what he wants, right? So he's just doing what he wants to do because he's got the power to, right? So he said he should magnify himself in his heart because he believes he's someone great, right? As we know, I said by peace, right? Because he's supposedly, right? He's doing everything he's doing it to help the American people. He's putting tariffs on everybody to help the American people, but the result isn't going to be help. The result isn't going to be making the lives of the American people better, right? It's going to make it worse, right? And you'll find, well, you're starting to find out, but you'll find out just how bad, in due time. But all these things he's supposed to be doing is supposed to be for the American people, America first, right? But it's not going to work out like that. And you people are noticing. You got people complaining about gas prices still being high after 6 months of being in power. Employment numbers are the highest they've been since 2021. There's America's not healing because it can't be healed, right? Scripture tells you that, right? Take balm for her pain. Take balm. Jeremiah 51, right? Verse 8 says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain. If so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Right? She can't be healed because the Most High is against that place, man, and its time for its fall is imminent. Right? No man can uphold a kingdom that the Lord has assigned destruction to. Your time's up, just like every other kingdom before you. All right. So it's your time, and Trump ain't gonna do nothing to prevent that. Forsake her and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies, right? Trump can't prevent the destruction and the judgment the Most High is bringing to that place, all right? There's nothing that can be done, all right? It's futile, right? That's really the point I want at. Daniel's 8, Revelation 13 and 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Right? So all this peace talk, because a lamb is a peaceful creature, right? Soft creature. And Esau's been playing that part like he's, he ain't the same devil that he was back in the past, right? Putting people into slavery and shit. Putting us into slavery, right? And just, using gunboat diplomacy around the world to create an empire. Yeah, he's trying to, peel away from that identity that he used to have. He's now merciful and he loves everybody. Like how did that happen? He loves everybody now and wants everyone to be equal. Bullshit. I call bullshit, right? He's played that role and he's convinced everybody that he's changed, but he ain't changed. He's the same devil he's always been, right? And now he's just reappearing again, right? He's going back into full demon mode. Teeth as a dragon, speaking like a dragon, because he's about to, enforce his will upon the people through his MLTB system. So he's forcing these situations to come about. All right, and so he's gonna, be doing all of this, right? So I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, right? And it's these parties that everybody believes in the 2 horns, right? They believe in them so much that they keep voting on them every year, every 4 years or whatever, to put people in office to make their countries better, right? But both horns are doing the same thing because they're part of the same beast, right? They're not going to do anything different, but you believe in them all the same because you believe in the politics that these men play on you, the games, right? But it says, and he spake as a dragon, right? So using these 2-party systems, man, look what's happened. Now look how men are talking. Look what people, look what you want to do. Man talking for death penalties and all kinds of stuff. Guillotines, and you know what I mean? Or we're at the Department of War now. Like, these men are not, they're also no lamb to me, right? There's definitely draconian talk, all the immigration issues and that. The ICE. This is not a lamb. They're parading around as a lamb, but it's not a lamb. It reminds me of that movie, the fourth kind. It's an owl. I think Boris watched it or not. It's an owl. Oh, it's not an owl. It's not an owl. Right? It's not a lamb. These Edomites are not lambs, man. Okay, they're dragons, and then you're starting to see it more. Right? The horns are coming out. The teeth are being bared. That's what we're witnessing right now. They're looking to devour us, man. They're not, here to cuddle up to us, It's Revelation 12 verse 12. It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth. Woe. Woe means destruction, right? A very fearful time, right? And ye that dwell in them, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, right? He's coming with wrath. And like I said, he's setting himself up in, posturing himself as such, that he's going to come with wrath and violence. He's having great wrath because he knoweth that he have but a short time. Okay, time is not on Esau's side. Time is not on America's side, right? They want to get this NWO, in place as soon as possible, right? But obviously it can't just be done overnight. It's still a process, but they're moving quicker with that process. Okay, they're moving quicker with that process, man. A lot of things is happening, and we're going to see. We're all going to see, right, where this all goes. Right? We already know where it's heading, but you're all going to see it because you're going to be living in it, right? And Ezekiel 21 verse 9 says, Son of man, prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, say, a sword is sharpened and also furbished. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? Right? This is not the time for celebrating, like, right? Trump's in power. These man, you got certain men celebrating, right? This ain't the time for celebration, man. You about to find out shit about to get a whole lot worse under the power of Trump and these like-minded dudes, right? Because the right is rising, okay, in Europe too, right? And their ideas and their plans ain't to come soft, ain't to play nice with people, because they're looking, to be aggressive. They want to be aggressive, man, because they're fed up with all this softness and kind of where it's led, right? They believe it's destroying their countries, right? So they're not looking to be soft with people. They're looking to enforce their ideologies, man, right? And so violence is on the horizon. But America, especially, they've been preparing for it. They're preparing themselves, right? The sword is being sharpened. It's being polished up. It's being prepared for that slaughter, right? They're ready, man. They're ready for America to collapse on itself, man. And these men are going to roll out the troops. That's why you got Trump, bringing National Guards in Chicago and all these different types of things, because he's got the power to do that now, right? And this is going to be somewhat normal in different states and whatever. They're going to roll out troops when shit seems to be getting quote unquote out of hand, because that's up to up to perspective, right? Whether something's out of control, but he can declare that you ain't managing it, so I'm going to send the National Guard down there to deal with it, because that's what he's done. Chicago's too violent. The police ain't doing nothing. Well, yeah, what happens when you defund the police? You know what I mean? Yeah, when their budget is lower and lower every year. Yeah, of course more violence is going to occur, right? But it's all for the purpose and reason, for him to deploy military rule in these different places. It's all done by design. Because, like I said, the money doesn't, money is transferred, right? Everybody's poor, and all these government sectors, for that, but lack of a better word, they're not, like the police and stuff. They they haven't got the funds that they need. It's the same news everywhere. The hospitals, the NHS. They haven't got enough money, right? But where's all this money that these nations are making? Where's it going? Well, we all know it's going to the elites, right? It ain't going to these these branches of government and all that kind of stuff. So they're struggling, they're suffering, and it's just for the excuse to take control, right, by these various means to implement this harsh rulership, okay, that they're doing, right? But yeah, verse 10, it says, "It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? Right? It contemneth the rod of my son as every tree. And ye have given it to be furbished, that it may be handled. Right? This sword is sharpened, and it is furbished to give into the hand of the slayer." Okay, and the slayer being Esau, right? These men are going to be deployed to create, to produce a slaughter. That's how rough it's going to get. And like I say, when you got rhetoric like this, right, and you got the mindset of guys like Trump talking about, oh, we're war, we're in a war setting now, kind of thing, your war mindset. They're not gonna show restraint, right? This is the spirit that they're gonna be in, and it's the Most High creating the spirit, right, allowing them to move in this, in this way, right? It's the Lord that changes the spirit of the world and the people in it, all these leaders and all these personnel, right? Because the Lord wants to bring this place to an end. So obviously prophecy has to be fulfilled. So these signs must come, right? We're not trying to prevent it. Us men, the Lord, brothers that they, teaching, right? We're not trying to prevent it. We're all for it, man. Bring it, just bring it, jabroni, right? We want these things to take place, But the world is worried and scared and wants to try and prevent it, and we need to get Trump out and whatever, man. Okay, we want Yahweh Shai to return, right? And therefore, the downfall of the society and these kingdoms have to take place, right? So Trump, do what you do, man. Go full steam ahead. Yeah, that was it, right? So yeah, the sword is being furbished, man. Our mindset is being shifted to being more aggressive, right? I'm just going to close out with this. This is Revelation chapter 6 and verse 4. And there went out another horse that was red. Okay, this red horse represents Esau or Edom. Edom means red, right? So, if you're spiritual, if you're spiritually discerned, you can understand that this is really in reference to Esau, Edom, right? And there was another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat down to take peace from the earth, right? The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. You saw who white people are in a position of power, right? It's funny that all these racists, right? All these right wingers and these patriots, right? Whatever, right? They want to take credit for all these things that they've done now, right? But if we bring out these scriptures now, and tell you're the ones in power right now, right? And you've done all this in the earth, right? You have to own it all the supposed good and all the evil that you've done, right? They don't ever want to own the evil. They don't want to ever own it, right? But they want to talk about how great they are. Well, own this then, right? It says power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. That you've taken peace from the earth. The earth has been given into the hand of the wicked, and you've taken peace from the earth. You've done that, right? Own that. Own the fact that the Most High got great judgment against you, man, and you're the devil. Own that, all right? And that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword, right? And again, that sword is going to be used, right? All versions of Esau's sword is going to be used, right? This great sword is talking about those nukes that he possesses, man. But like you said, even down to the simple gun, and that's about all these biological warfare and all these chemical warfare, any type of killing instrument that he possesses, he's going to use it all, man. Best believe. In these different theaters that he's operating in, right? He's going to take peace from the earth, right? This place is going to get very chaotic, right? And like I said, they're going to come ruthless with it. They're going to be like that dragon, draconian. So they're going to come ruthless with it. They're going to be very aggressive. All right. So we're just seeing more signs, and that it's heading in that direction. Okay, with Trump and these different dudes that are, vying for power in these different, nations and, political realms, right? They're all going to move like this. But, predominantly this is, is what's going to be going on in America. But this whole world's going to be turned upside down, man. You can see it happening, how it's developing, But, with that, I'm going to say shalom. The witness is edifying. And I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.